Hey folks, David here, TexasHornsFans.com. It's time for our 2020 Texas Longhorns season predictions. We're going game by game. The season is almost here, so now that the schedule is set, we even have some kickoff times set. Going to go ahead and do our season predictions here. Don't forget to leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. What are you looking forward to? What are you kind of concerned about? Who you're looking to break out? And also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos. And also don't forget to check out our position by position preview and breakdown videos as well. And then check us out at TexasHornsFans.com. We have over 56,000 Longhorns fans on our Facebook group. Great fans over there. So hope you enjoy the video and Longhorns. All right, let's jump into it here. So here's the schedule kind of in its entirety. We'll go game by game and then do predictions. I'm going to do score predictions, but just win-loss predictions. A couple of things that stand out to me, just kind of eyeballing the schedule. The first 5 games are all in the state of Texas. So you're not going to have to travel, a long ways, to West Virginia or to Kansas or to Stillwater or anything like that in the first half of this schedule. Also, kind of considering that South Florida is no longer on the schedule or LSU. So, and that kind of sucks from, I think, 2 different extremes. With LSU, which would have been week 2, obviously the rematch going into their place, and also getting a shot at revenge and the defending national champions. Sure, their roster is completely different this year than it is from last year, but they're still the defending champions. And then, when you look at South Florida, you've got a respectable team that you just want the extra in-game reps to get prepared for conference play, especially with your new guys, your freshmen, especially with so many new coaches, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So, with those games gone and just one non-conference game against UTEP, you have to expect some sloppiness. Good news is everybody else is in the same boat. Okay, so just kind of looking at those interesting things. Also the fact that you've got essentially, you have a bye week between UTEP and Tech, and then you have another bye week between Oklahoma and Baylor. So you have, an off week there twice in the first half of the schedule, which is pretty interesting. And then there's another one in November. So these games are being stretched out, still. Obviously, the regular season schedule is going to end on December 5th. All right, so jumping in, UTEP, the mighty Miners from El Paso in the UT family. So UTEP comes over from El Paso into Austin. Right now, I think it's 42-point favorite. And right now, I would actually take the under on that. I don't see Texas winning by 42. Not that they can't, or not that they're not that much better. I just don't see them scoring that much more in the first game with all this stuff that's been going on, okay? Especially with the new coaches and new systems and all that stuff. So what I really hope to see is the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense get off the field by the end of the third quarter. We want to see some of these freshmen. We want to see some Alfred Collins, some Bijan Robinson, get Casey Thompson some snaps, maybe even see what Hudson Card is going to have. You fully expect Hudson Card and Jaquindon Jackson at quarterback to redshirt this year. But they can still get some snaps against UTEP, okay? You just want to kind of see that. UTEP is your only buffer before conference play, okay? But you get UTEP at home, you get a week off the next week to still prepare for conference play, and then, the TTs come up on September 26th. UTEP is going to be on Longhorn Network, so that that has been announced already. And then obviously we've got predicting a win against UTEP. So heading into Texas Tech, it's in Lubbock. It's during the day, so it's not at night, which that's always better. Weird things happen in Lubbock at night. We've seen it too many times before. Last year, obviously, Texas got off to a slow start against Tech, but then pretty much handled them for most of the game. Really ran away with it. So this one, I just don't see how Tech really makes this a game, other than if Texas is just really sloppy and just continues to allow Tech to stay into it. This is going to be an interesting game, I think, to see what the Texas defense is going to bring and what major changes in scheme and strategy new defensive coordinator Chris Ash is going to bring against a good offense like Texas Tech. How is he going to change some stuff up with what he expects from the guys up front, and then hopefully they take pressure off of the defensive backs? But obviously we got this one as a win. Like I said, don't see how Texas Tech really pulls this off, but still wouldn't be surprised if it was somewhat of a sloppy game. So October 3rd against the Horny Frogs, a 10-point loss last year to TCU. This was after the Oklahoma game. The offense really was bad early on in this game, and then I think toward the end of the game, the defense just kind of busted, right? Early on, if you remember, the defense was actually doing a pretty good job and not getting much help at all from the offense. That obviously has to change. So we're back in Austin against TCU. Their quarterback situation is kind of up in the air. So, how is that going to kind of play out? Are they going to get that settled here by the third game on October 3rd? And then remember, they signed Zach Evans, the kind of had a really whirlwind roller coaster recruiting process from North Shore, one of the top high school programs in Texas. But that's going to be interesting to see if he kind of gets in the mix, if they go to him and give him the ball. But fully expect Texas to get revenge on this game. So I got this as a win over TCU. And I think hopefully by October 3rd, we really see things start to come together, okay? I don't expect a whole heck of a lot of changes on offense. I don't think Mike Yursich, as the new offensive coordinator, is going to go in and completely change things up with a senior quarterback and some experienced players at running back. And also, some kind of relying on new leadership at wide receiver as well. So I don't see a lot of changes coming up with by this time in the season. And then moving into Dallas against the Land Thieves. This kickoff is set for 11 a.m. Central in Dallas. Some people kind of thought, since the state fair, the Texas State Fair was canceled this year, that maybe this game could be at night in the Cotton Bowl. That would have been cool to see, actually. But it's set for 11 o'clock kick on October 10th. So obviously a frustrating loss last year to the Land Thieves. I really thought this game was it just really looked like Texas was playing in the mud, just really stuck. I thought Oklahoma defensively had a phenomenal game plan against the Texas offense. It looked like Sam was putting way too much on his shoulders throughout the whole game and was just really frustrated. The offensive line was horrible. The defense in the first half of the game, I thought, did a great job. They were kind of bend but not breaking. Obviously Jalen Hurts still had a good game. CeeDee Lamb was amazing. I think this game, this one game probably made CeeDee Lamb quite a bit of money, boosting his draft status. But Oklahoma's got some things they're going through. Obviously, they're trying to get in a brand new quarterback in redshirt freshman Spencer Rattler, which that's going to be really interesting to see what he has. He will get some buffer games before this one, so we'll see kind of what consistency he brings. And Oklahoma's also been dealing with some issues with the virus and testing and all that type of stuff. So, I think by this time, the fourth game of the season, that's going to really come into play. Are we going to have any delays? Is Texas going to be okay? Is Oklahoma going to be okay? The Big 12 kind of announced that you have to field at least a 53-man roster for a game. So you have to have at least 53 healthy players, so, and if you don't, if you have like 51, maybe a couple walk-ons get on there. I don't know. But I think that's going to be the big kind of matchup here. But I think just looking at what Texas has in experience and then what Oklahoma is going to bring, their level of experience and leadership, I have this one as a win over Oklahoma this year. I really think that, obviously, Sam is going to be just jacked for this game. It's his senior year. Sure, the NCAA has ruled that this football season, all fall sports are not going to count against eligibility. Technically, Sam could come back next year, and he might, but who knows, right? That this is obviously he's going to be jacked for this game. I see the Texas offense faring much better against the Oklahoma defense this year. Hopefully, Texas goes out there and just kind of does whatever they want to do and not worrying about how the Oklahoma defense is scheming against them, right? I think this is one of those games where you just got to go out and play your best at what you do. I also hope that by the fourth game of the season, the Texas offense is in a rhythm, and we know what we have at running back. We know what we have in the H position with Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington, which is a huge position in the passing game. With this team. So hopefully by now that settles in, okay? And then hopefully the Texas defense comes up with some ways to just absolutely give Spencer Rattler nightmares as a young, unproven college quarterback. So those are kind of the main things I see playing out with the game against Oklahoma. Then you have a bye, you got a week off, and then Baylor drives down the street to Austin on the 24th. This game time has not been set yet, but obviously, what was it, a 10-point loss to Baylor last year, who did end up making it into the Big 12 championship game. But Baylor has a lot of changes that they're going through. New quarterback. I don't see. If Texas is coming off a win against Oklahoma, and if they're 4-0 with an extra week to prepare, I don't see how this is a win for Baylor. So I have a win going 5-0 here on the 24th. You can't let Baylor beat you 2 years in a row. Come on. Last year was just full of disappointing game. 2-point win against Kansas, a 10-point loss against TCU. A close game against Oklahoma, but really, really struggled, really had to just come out of the muck in that game. And then obviously, losing, an 8-5 record. So this first half of the schedule, I really think it's important for Texas to come out of here really humming, okay? If you come out of here with a loss against Oklahoma and TCU, or I think if you come out of here 4-1, you're still good. But if you can come out of here 5-0, I think Texas is really gonna kind of get that momentum going. Now, going to Stillwater, the first non-Texas game, the first game out of Texas on Halloween, and you got to think this is probably going to be at night. Oklahoma State has just been phenomenal in Stillwater against Texas. And there's a lot of people picking the Pokies to win the conference. Now, yes, they bring a great offense. Arguably the best running back in the conference and the best receiver in the conference in Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace. Now, Texas pretty much handled him last year. The quarterback was a little more unproven, made some mistakes, but I think where Oklahoma State is going to have the edge in this game is being at home. It's also going to be interesting to see how their first 5 games kind of pan out, how healthy they're going to be, and how are they going to live up, to their hype, especially on offense. Chuba Hubbard is at worst a second-round NFL draft pick. Tylan Wallace, I think the same thing. I think both of those guys are going to go in the top 2. I think Tylan Wallace probably would have come out last year had the wide receiver class not been so stacked. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Texas defense matches up against the Oklahoma State offense. Now, if I just looking at, kind of everything, I definitely think that this is a game where Texas is going to kind of run up there and likely lose a really close matchup against Oklahoma State. Not necessarily just because of the expectation of bringing to the table in the conference and their star players, but they just are always ready for Texas at home. And I don't see Texas going 10-0 on this schedule. Okay, so if I had to pick a loss, it's, I would expect it to come against Oklahoma State if there's going to be one. All right, so the very next week, back into Austin against West Virginia. Obviously went to West Virginia last year, handled them pretty well. If you remember, that's when Deshaun Jameson had that awesome interception where he just kind of took the ball away from the receiver as they were coming to the ground. If things play out like this, if they go into this game 5-1, fully expect Texas to handle West Virginia, especially coming off of an Oklahoma State loss with the Big 12 championship game, still kind of fully in their reach. I also think by the time you reach the 7th game of the season, you really, really know what you have. Hopefully everybody's healthy, hopefully there's not a bunch of postponements and things like that, but really confident, especially this game being in Austin. If you do have a loss in Stillwater, you get to come home and you don't even have an extra week to really sulk or you got to get ready for West Virginia because this game's happening 7 days from the loss. And then you have a bye week before you go to Kansas. Kansas has a pretty powerful offense. They've got a running back of their own. They've got a wide receiver of their own, preseason Big 12. Puka Williams at running back is that type of shifty speed runner who, in the blink of an eye, could have 150 yards. So the last time Texas went into Kansas, they struggled. I believe it was a 7-point win. And that was the last game of the season before they went to play Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. And then last year when Kansas came to Austin, it was a freaking shootout, right? Texas needed a field goal to win the game. I believe it was, 50-48? Obviously that can't happen. You have to keep Kansas from controlling the game. And that game was on the defense last year. So obviously what you got to see this year is putting this game away quickly. But fully expect Texas to handle this, go into Kansas with a win. especially with an extra week there to kind of, get healthy. This is basically the third bye week within 7 after the 7 games, because this would be the 8th game. And then back into Austin against Iowa State. This one's a tough one because if Texas is 7-1 by now, they're absolutely, still in the driver's seat to make the Big 12 championship game. This game may serve as a sort of semifinal before the conference championship game, because by now you kind of know who's in it, right? Fully expect Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Iowa State to still be in play by now. And I really think all 4 could be kind of in a tie and like I said, really be in play. Hard to imagine that all 4 of those teams remain undefeated by the 9th game of the season. So, this is going to be a huge, huge game. Obviously, again, Iowa State's always ready for Texas. They're always really well coached. They've got a great quarterback. And I really think that if Texas is going to take control of this game early, which is what I think they need to do, which is what they didn't do last year against Iowa State, they're really going to have to hit Brock Purdy in the mouth. They're going to have to figure out some ways to just make it hell for him, because he's the one that's going to drive their offense. And, this game coming back into Austin, yes, that gives me a lot of confidence. If Texas is going to step up and be the team to take control of the Big 12, which is what they need to do, right? Oklahoma's got to stop winning the Big 12. They got to win this game. So I have this as a win. If I had to pick 2 losses, the second loss would come against Iowa State. Okay, so I don't see that happening 2 years in a row. I don't see them losing again to Iowa State, and I really can't see them losing the last game at home when the Big 12 championship game is right there for the taking. Okay, so like I said, I think it's going to come down and serve as a semifinal for the Big 12 championship game, and should be a great game. Now, last game of the season, they go into Kansas State. We all know Kansas State is a well-coached team. We saw them beat Oklahoma last year. They can beat anybody on any given day. Okay, they will be ready to play. The game is December 5th, so you don't have a bye. This is basically 3 games in a row, which is, for this season is going to be a little different. Last game of the season on the road, going to be tough, right? This is the 2nd game in the state of Kansas. So, but if they're 8-1, heck, even if they're 8-2, the Big 12 championship game still should be in their grasp. So definitely don't see Texas losing against Kansas State. Kansas State's one of those pesky teams that is just going to hang around, right? That's how they win. That's how they beat people. Before you know it, you look up and they've beaten you by 4 points or 7 points, and you're just kind of wondering, like, is it really over? They're one of those teams. Like I said, they find ways to win. So this is a game that kind of scares me. Given if Texas is healthy, if they figured it out on offense, if they figured it out on defense, with new coordinators, with new ideas and schemes, they've got to put the season away against Kansas State. They've just got to come out and do it. So I fully see them overpowering Kansas State when it comes to the Texas offense versus the Kansas State defense. I I don't see the Kansas State offense putting up a lot of quick points against the Texas defense, and I think that's what they're going to have to do to beat Texas. Now, Kansas State's also one of those teams that can hit you in the mouth, make you fumble, make you throw interceptions, just come up with good plays when it matters most. So that's always a possibility against them. That's why they scare me so much, especially at home. But I see this coming out as a win. So finishing 9-1, and then heading into the Big 12 championship game. Not going to do a preview of or predictions on what I think might happen to the Big 12 championship game. I do think it's going to be between Texas and Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, which would be kind of cool because Oklahoma would have been back in October 10th. Oklahoma State would have been back on Halloween. That would be more exciting than seeing them, have to play Iowa State again, just 2 weeks later. So those are my predictions, guys. Definitely let me know what you think about those. Don't forget to head on over to TexasHornsFans.com. A lot of additional content on there. You can subscribe to the site for free, and don't miss any other future videos, game recaps, coverage. But let me know what you think about those predictions. What are you looking forward to most this season? What concerns you most this season? What are you expecting from the new guys? What are you expecting from the leaders? Who do you expect to step up, have breakout seasons? Let me know what you think, and then post your comments below. Don't let me just be a talking head. Also, obviously, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss anything else, and head on over to TexasHornsFans.com. We will see you on the next video.